The third and final Mars-Neptune square is here on Tuesday, March 14th, coloring most of mid-March with uncertainty, frustration, and low energy. We had the first square in mid-October, the second one in mid-November as Mars stationed retrograde, and this is the final chapter of the Mars-Neptune journey together. Let's take a closer look and break it down for all 12 signs. My name is Anastasia. I'm a traditional Western astrologer specializing in natal, relationship, and predictive readings. I create content for you guys and run a full-time business. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe, leave me a like or a comment. I really appreciate that. It helps YouTube promote my content, encourages me to bring more content your way. If you'd like to work with me, there are links down below. And before we dive in, I wanted to tell you about another part of my business, which involves working with planetary energies and capturing them in the shape of candles and oils in order to help improve some of the more challenging energies in a natal chart. Especially my latest creation, Moon in Cancer candle, and I also created oils. And this one is a natural soy candle with silver foil in it because silver is the metal of the moon. It has the scent of moonflower and nectar, and the moon is perfect for manifestation. It's really good for working with kind of feminine energy, with fertility, with your intuition. It helps improve sleep and your overall mental state. Astrologically, really, really good for people born with moon in Scorpio or moon in Capricorn, because they tend to struggle with relaxing and kind of letting things go. Like moon in Scorpio, people tend to feel the feelings and keep feeling them, and like they struggle with letting things go. And moon in Capricorn, people struggle relaxing because they feel like they can rest when they're dead. There's like a strong energy of productivity, right? And I have multiple candles, but this is the newest one, and this is one of my favorites. And I actually only have 8 of these remaining as of right now, and this is the Jupiter in Pisces candle. Very special because Jupiter is not coming back to Pisces until 2033. So the 8 candles I have are it, right, until 2033. This one is blue. I lit it up a little bit. Normally it has 4 gemstones in here, but they tend to sink to the bottom. But then when you light it up, you can see them. It's like a nice surprise. And since this is Jupiter, it's really good for people with Jupiter in Capricorn, Gemini, or Virgo. Really good for optimism, foresight, and good luck. Now that this is out of the way, let's talk about Mars, Neptune in a square together. I have made a video on this transit, so you can definitely refer back and take a look at the Mars, Neptune square video from before. But this one is going to be, I think, like a summary of all 3 transits and a quick horoscope run. So the first square occurred on October 12th. You can look at mid-October and see what energies were present, what topics were present in your life. We had a second one on November 19th, and this is the third and final one happening on Tuesday, March 14th. Because Mars and Neptune are relatively slow-moving planets, especially Neptune. Mars is kind of picking up speed, but Mars doesn't move as quickly as Mercury does. This square takes about a week to build, so we are already in the middle of it. It would have started around the time of the full moon in Virgo on March 7th, and it's going to last until March 21st with complete kind of new beginnings and new themes when Mars enters Cancer, and that is not until March 25th. So serious kind of energy stays with us for a while for sure. In general, Mars is the planet of physical energy. It's the planet of action. It's the planet of individuation a lot of times. Like we talk about the sun as, you know, who you are at the core, but Mars is who you are in opposition to others, who you are apart from them. Like Mars tends to be a lot more self-driven, or kind of like even, you know, selfish. Mars represents our drives, our ambitions, our desires, represents our sexual energy. It represents courage and that ability to stand apart. While Neptune is, how does one describe Neptune? Neptune is dreamy. Neptune is spiritual. Neptune is idealistic. Neptune blurs the differences, right? Like Neptune is the god of the ocean, and in the ocean, everything sort of blends in. Of course, not exactly, but like it tends to wash away our differences. Like nobody can breathe if you're not fish, right? As a human, you cannot breathe in the ocean, so we're all kind of equal. The square is, of course, a tense aspect. So if you have Mars and Neptune together in more harmonious energy, you may feel more inspired. You feel more driven and more spiritual, and things are sort of aligned between you. The same goes if you're born with like Mars in a sextile or trine to Neptune, tends to be easier. And if you were born with this aspect, let me know in the comments below as well, how has it been for you, right? So there is a few kind of important things I want to touch on. Like I said, if you want to know more, watch the previous videos I did. There might be a bit of like overlap between them, but I think it's important to touch on these topics as we are once again in front of this transit. So Mars deals with physical energy, right? When it squares Neptune, you may feel like your physical energy is being drained. And I've already seen it. Even honestly, exercising today, there was like an exercise that I was struggling through and taking a bunch of breaks. And my boyfriend is saying that he feels like extra tired and unmotivated. And together with Saturn entering Pisces and us trying to figure out how to navigate Saturn in Pisces, I feel like for sure there's been more, I call it sad procrastination, because Pisces has that melancholic, and Saturn is very melancholic, right? But Pisces also has escapist tendencies. So together, when Saturn is in Pisces, you either do Saturn things, as in take responsibility over your emotions, feelings, creativity, or you do Piscean things and escape responsibility, and those two will flip-flop. But yeah, let me know, how has Saturn and Pisces been affecting you? So as far as in Mars dealing with physical energy, sexual energy, the square to Neptune can lower your defenses. It can make your immune system kind of go down, and can also bring sexual difficulty or sexual dysfunction, because like I said, Mars rules sexuality and sexual energy. It's not a permanent thing, it's more like a temporary thing, but it's still something that needs to be addressed, right? Yeah, like last time in November I got a sty, and it was also around the time I started to do physical therapy. And of course around this time again, there's been some like health matters that needed another look. You know, everything is good, but sort of still dealing with like health things. And of course I'm a Libra rising, Neptune is in my house of health, so it's kind of on my mind anyways. So as far as in Mars representing taking action and separation, right? Standing up for yourself, Neptune can make you feel unsure, second guessing yourself, doubting yourself, not knowing which direction to go in, which path to take. So be kind with yourself, you know, like it's okay to not know all the answers. And it might be hard right now to like stand up for yourself or separate yourself from the crowd. Perhaps you can think of, you know, achieving your purpose and going towards things you want, but doing that through spiritual things or taking on projects that help others instead of pursuing your personal individualistic goals, which is what Neptune is all about, right? This transit is very much about aligning your goals with the needs of the collective and the goals of the collective. At the same time, because Neptune is an intense aspect to Mars, your goals right now or the things that you get excited about can be false or flawed, or, you know, there might be a sense that you're like following the wrong idols, following false idols, getting taken advantage of. It's like a lot easier to be taken advantage of and tricked. So make sure you're surrounding yourself with people who build you up instead of people who drag you down, take your energy, take your money, etc. Like, you know, victim mentality can come with this transit, as well as the hero mentality, as far as like, I'm going to sacrifice myself for the higher cause. You want to try to find a healthy balance. Mars is in Gemini. Gemini is a sign of tech, logistics. So issues with logistics are also likely as much as tech issues. I've been dealing with tech issues. I was buying an airplane ticket and there was like a weird thing, give me this DOD number. And I was like, I don't have this number. Why are you asking me for it? And, you know, thankfully I looked it up and the answer was pretty simple. So that was resolved. But yeah, tech issues have been a thing. Have you felt them? I'm curious. Even the last couple of times, and it's sort of like a red line for me. You know, I'm shipping orders, right? And shipping candles and like figuring out the logistics of it all. When around the time of the first square, I was first starting to create oils, and figuring out how to ship oils was like a whole separate thing. And right now I'm at a place of like needing to reorder some supplies, and there's definitely a sense of like needing to figure it out and maybe procrastinating a little bit. Like, I know I have enough for now, but I'm definitely at a point of like needing to get more things. So yeah, like logistics, technology, travel, cars, all of that stuff can be more confusing, as well as confusing fights. Another thing that, you know, has been definitely like mid-October, mid-November, weird fights about things that if I look back, I would be like, what are we fighting about? Like, yeah, definitely like learning to maybe better understand what the underbelly of the fight is, trying to understand what it's actually about. And Mars in a square in Neptune can be a sign of some of your unconscious desires, unconscious fears, past problems, frustrations bubbling up, right? You cannot ignore them. Maybe you get in a fight with your boyfriend and it seems like it's about money, but in reality, maybe it's about you not feeling valued or you not feeling supported, right? So any kind of fights and frustrations that come up right now have that potential to bring healing and potential of teaching you to be better at processing anger, sadness, grief, etc. You may encounter some Neptunian figures, like people who are either trying to trick you or confuse you, deceive you, or people who can maybe put you in touch with a more spiritual side of things, right? That's actually a better way of dealing with this transit, connecting with spirituality, meditating, doing yoga, leaning into creativity, because Mars Neptune can be a very creative energy. And the final thing I'm going to say is watch out for escaping reality, right? There's always a danger with Mars Neptune of like party gone wrong, bungee jumping gone wrong. So be careful like taking those active martial pursuits, or be careful like escaping into drugs or, you know, substances that alter your state. So this will be especially felt for people with planets and angles between 22 and 28 degrees mutable signs, which are Gemini, Sagittarius, Virgo, and Pisces, because Mars and Neptune are in mutable signs, so you may feel more affected and more perhaps irritated by those aspects. Good for me as a Gemini moon, Virgo, Sun, Venus, Mars, and Sag, Saturn, Uranus. I have almost all of them. So let's take a look at all 12 signs, and let's give you some clues on what this might be about. Like I said, highly recommend looking at mid-October, mid-November, and any reflections you have, if you'd like to share with me. I love reading your reflections. You know, I just recently did a video that was all about reflections on Saturn being in Aquarius. So looking forward to hearing what you think about this. If you are an Aries rising, Mars is currently in your 3rd house. It's going to square Neptune in the 12th house. And here you're dealing with communication difficulties, certain scheduling things that bring frustrations and stress into your life. There might be conflicts related to siblings and neighbors and things that you really need to address, right? There might be something that you're like sweeping under the rug and not looking at, and Neptune in the 12th house might bring things from your unconscious into consciousness and have you, you know, like talk about it. This could be a lovely time for therapy. On the negative, of course, you know, there might be like a danger of being too self-sacrificial or being too escapist, kind of believing false ideals, which is the case for most people. But I feel like this could be very much about looking at your self-defeating tendencies and looking at things that you're not saying and perhaps saying them. And yes, some feathers may be ruffled and conflicts are likely, but you can also bring things up and talk about it, right? Like maybe it's your frustration with your roommate, maybe it's a situation with your sibling, maybe it's a sense of being overloaded with work and saying yes to too many things and like needing to. Neptune in the 12th sometimes is about saying no or letting something go. Could be an important theme for you right now. If you are a Taurus rising, Mars in the 2nd house is squaring Neptune in the 11th, and this feels very much your values, your money versus the values and money of other people, or your desires versus the desires of other people. For example, you know, if you have been growing and you have been changing and you have been doing a lot of inner work, you may realize that some of your friendships are no longer aligned with who you are, and it might be the time to let something go. It might also be with Neptune in the 11th, you might also be rethinking your dreams and potentially trying to figure out, you know, whether a pursuit is worth your time or it's not. But yeah, watch out for misunderstandings with friends. Try not to take like extreme approach, whether that means sacrificing everything for a friend or cutting them off. But I feel like it's very much like, how are your values aligned with people in your life? And what kind of conversations do you need to have to get you and them more on the same page? Or maybe even looking at a more spiritual community, like building a different community that better reflects who you are and where you're going. For lovely Gemini risings, we have Mars in the 1st house squaring Neptune in the 10th. And this is you, your personal goals, your personal projects versus your work, versus your duties and obligations you have to other people, right? Like Neptune in the 10th house could bring a bit of confusion when it comes to career, but it can also inspire you. It could be a sign that there are things that you're interested in. And maybe, you know, maybe your immediate environment doesn't quite reflect the things that you're interested in. So there might be tension, there might be inner tension, there might be actual conflicts with people at work and like needing to have some honest conversations and needing to address certain things. There might also be a sense that your work is somehow defeating, or it's somehow not aligned with your health, or it's not aligned with your well-being, and perhaps a need to let something go. But of course, it's a very, you know, it's like a confusing transit, and the answer might not be immediately available. I'm also wondering, with Mars being in the 10th house, not Mars, sorry, Neptune being in the 10th house, and 10th house being a very like, and Neptune being a very spiritual planet, if you're thinking of pursuing projects that are more spiritual or more, you know, aligned with your soul. If you are a Cancer rising, Mars in the 12th house is going to square Neptune in the 9th. And this feels very much about your subconscious, and it's about your ideals in life, right? Like Neptune in the 9th could reveal some things that are self-defeating. Maybe things you believe. Maybe you have this kind of belief about yourself that you are a certain way. Let's say you believe that you don't know how to make money, right? And everything else in your life, or that you don't have boundaries and then you just let people walk all over you. So this could be your opportunity to examine those beliefs, to examine your guiding principles, starting with things that maybe you've inherited from your parents, and see them for what they are, and then release them. Be more discerning, I guess, right? More discerning with what is worth your time, what is not worth your time. There might be some confusion connected to travel or education, where you don't feel as certain with the school you're in, or you don't feel as certain with a trip that you were going to go on. As well as ideological battles are likely. Kind of, you get in a fight with a teacher, you get in a fight that has to do with politics or philosophy, and like important insights can be coming through those fights, some like deeper realizations. If you are a Leo rising, Mars in the 11th is squaring Neptune in the 8th house. And here we're pairing the house of hopes and dreams, the house of allies and friendships, in a square with a house of shared resources, debts, and taxes. And somehow your commitments to other people, the debts that you have outstanding, any engagements and dependencies someone else has on you, like let's say you're taking care of an elder or grandparent, they can be at odds and frustrating your plans for the future. Take a look back at the other two aspects, mid-October, mid-November, to see whether there were any conflicts, inner and outer, between you, your friends, you and your plans for the future, and see how you can approach things differently. Watch out for conflicts around money. Watch out for kind of throwing your hands up in the air and getting too frustrated and too hopeless, right? I think the answer here is like trying to take it easy, trying to see how you can get the resources you need, how you can pay off the debts that you have in order to get you where you're trying to go. Like, yes, maybe it's not going to be as quick as you would like it to be, but it doesn't mean things are impossible. There might be some conflicts with friends, some issues in your views, a sense of disagreeing with friends, or a sense of maybe feeling unsupported. Maybe even releasing a friendship if you feel like your values are not aligning. But I would recommend that you kind of take it easy and instead maybe make a plan how to, like I said, all of those things, right? Like get a mortgage, pay off a debt, get to your dream, which resources you need, who do you need to reach out to, etc. Not the best time to sign any contracts or, you know, kind of get into debt. I would try to be careful, because this could be like you get an offer that glitters, but it turns to dust in your hands. So be mindful of that. If you are a Virgo rising, Mars in the 10th house is squaring Neptune in the 7th. And here it's all about your career versus your relationships, versus your marriage or your love relationship, or even your business partnership. Take a look at the mid-October, mid-November, when we had two other Mars-Neptune squares, to see what was happening, whether there were any tensions between your professional pursuits and your personal relationship, because this will likely be the final chapter of that conflict. But you know, maybe there is a sense that your relationship is somehow, like I said, contradictory to your career, and maybe your partner has this dream of moving to France. France. And you don't feel the same way, and you have this plan of becoming a doctor and becoming the best at what you do, and, you know, going through med school, etc. So you really need to examine how much your values align with those of your partner. You may feel disappointed. You may find something out about your partner at this time, or even just feel uncertain about your values and your future. Watch out for sacrificing yourself for the relationship and sacrificing your goals. Try instead to find a good way to compromise. And sometimes, you know, at like, in some situations, this might be the time to release something, right? Like release a professional trajectory or professional project in order to build a relationship, or vice versa. Release a relationship so that you can pursue a professional goal. If you are a Libra rising, Mars in the 9th house is going to square Neptune in your 6th house. Neptune in the 6th could bring confusion around your daily life, confusion around health, a sense of like problems that show up that you don't quite know how to solve, and they delay your passion project, right? Because Mars in the 9th house wants to travel, it wants to study, it wants to write. So around this time you may definitely run into a sense that, like, logistics, I talked about it in the beginning of the video, logistics and health matters and work matters, even like colleagues are sort of standing in your way. This might be the time where you're working on a project that has to do with travel, as I am. More on that in a second, but like, you're working on a project that has to do with travel or education, and you may feel kind of restless and excited, but Neptune in the 6th just creates these like blurry issues, right? Uncertainty, lack of clarity. If you've been watching my videos, you know that I've been approached to host a travel retreat, but there's been so much back and forth because the initial location I chose was too expensive, so we went with a different one. Maldives and not Maldives, Mallorca and Ibiza, 2 islands in Spain. But then that came back with a price that I wasn't happy with, so now we're like pivoting again. So there's definitely, on my end, I'm feeling it. And if you are a Libra rising and you've been facing some kind of uncertainty and confusion when it comes to your pursuits, education pursuits, travel pursuits, writing, any legal matters, please let me know. And yeah, you know, be careful kind of pushing yourself harder. It will be best to take a step back and reconsider, perhaps. If you are a Scorpio rising, Mars is your ruler, currently in the 8th house, is going to square Neptune in the 5th. And here you sort of have a need to look at your agreements with other people, to look at your dependencies on other people, debts you have to them, like literal or unspoken debts you have to other people, and perhaps release them in order to find more joy, because Neptune in the 5th house will ask you whether this relationship is spiritually aligned with you, whether it makes you happy, whether it fulfills you. And if it doesn't, you may need to let it go. Watch out for sacrificing, right? Because like Neptune being in the 5th, Mars being in the 8th could also be a sign that you're sacrificing your goals for the sake of a relationship, for the sake of a child or a creative project. Definitely some kind of tension and misunderstandings and uncertainty that has to do with your romantic relationship, creative project, or topics related to children. Maybe you are disagreeing with your partner about having a child, and you're realizing that you're not on the same page. And like I said, this could also be a disagreement in a creative context. So watch out for, like, you know, like, be careful sacrificing, be careful promising things that maybe don't make you feel happy. And try to have honest conversations as much as you can. If you are a Sag rising, Mars is in your 7th house, squaring Neptune in the 4th. And here you have confusion, uncertainty, lack of clarity when it comes to home, family, and living situation affecting your relationship. So maybe you just got engaged and now you and your partner cannot agree on where to live because, you know, you have one idea, they have another idea. Maybe family is meddling and there's no like clear boundaries when it comes to the involvement of family. So this could be the time when you address things and set up better boundaries. If you're single, this doesn't have to be a romantic relationship connected. This can also be a metaphorical marriage, right? Like maybe you're married to your best friend or you're married to your mom. Neptune in the 4th might also bring childhood issues, childhood problems, family karma to the fore, and kind of encourage you to address things. Like, are you being too self-sacrificial? Are you being too avoidant, right, of problems? Are you expecting your partner to be your parent and sort of fill the void within you, right? Like, those are just few examples, but like you may have to look at your childhood and see how things that you have learned back then are still affecting your relationships and what potentially needs to be changed, right? Watch out for sacrificing, and look at, like, you know, what is and what isn't worth sacrificing for, as well as who is and who isn't worth sacrificing for. If you are a Capricorn rising, we have Mars in the 6th house squaring Neptune in the 3rd house. And there's potentially some kind of confusion when it comes to siblings, neighbors, your neighborhood, short travel, your schedule, you know, some kind of miscommunications that are affecting your work and maybe create a lack of certainty. Neptune in the 3rd could be like a sign of, you know, poor boundaries when it comes to siblings, poor boundaries when it comes to neighbors, even like poor boundaries when it comes to your schedule, right? Like, are you saying yes to too many things? Are you spreading yourself in too many directions? And then Mars in the 6th trying to problem solve, trying to get stuff done, gets derailed, right? So like needing to address certain unconscious things that are distractive to you, that are kind of distracting you from work, and maybe even sabotaging or affecting your health could be important. You may kind of get a better sense of what's affecting your life and what's affecting your health, and, you know, see how to make changes. At the same time, Neptune in the 3rd could also be really good for creative inspiration, and maybe what's distracting you is the fact that you have all these great ideas and you want to write, or you want to start a blog, or you want to present them on social media. So there can definitely be a sense that you're inspired by, but your inspiration is at odds with your everyday life. So needing to find a better balance is important. If you are an Aqua rising, we have Mars in the 5th house squaring Neptune in the 2nd house. And I see this, like, Neptune in the 2nd can create issues when it comes to money. Maybe, you know, it's squaring Mars in the 5th. Mars in the 5th really wants to enjoy life. It wants to do things that are fun, date people that are fun, spend time with kids, and just enjoy life more. But Neptune in the 2nd says that there are some things that you are not addressing, perhaps, right? Like some financial matters that you're not addressing, or some financial matters that you really need to address. Like if you're trying to become a parent, maybe you need to look at your spendings and see how you can make a better budget, right? The same for like pursuing a creative project. You may need to have some important conversations with your romantic partner or your creative partner and come to an agreement about spending money. Watch out for sacrificing your values and your needs for the sake of the relationship or for other person, because that will likely come and bite you in the ass at some point. So be careful there. And finally, if you are a Pisces rising, we have Mars in the 4th house squaring Neptune in the 1st house. And here you are, you know, like, have you dealt with any issues when it comes to home, family, your living situation, your past? Have you been more introspective about the past and maybe looked at how things that you have been pursuing, or even like how does your family, or how does your early childhood, or like the difficulties you have experienced, how are they affecting your everyday life? How are they still with you today? And, you know, are they serving you, or are they blocking you? Are they impeding your progress? I hope that's the right word. I think that's the right word. So like needing to take a closer look at your past and address family karma, I think could be important here, as well as like maybe heal something. There might be conflicts that you're having that are connected to home, family, you know, maybe family being too involved and you're trying to separate from them, or maybe there's some living situation drama that you need to address. Watch out for being self-sacrificial. Watch out for making knee-jerk decisions and kind of rushing with judgment. And try to be very introspective, because you literally have here, you have the house of self, your health and physical body, and the house that's at the bottom of the chart and represents your foundations. So how is early life impacting you, and how is your immediate environment? Is it comfortable? Is it supportive of your progress? What needs to be changed in order to support your progress and your personal growth, I think is the theme here. So this is all I have. I hope this was supportive. I hope you've gotten something interesting from it. If you haven't subscribed yet, this is your chance. Please do. And I'll talk to you very soon. Bye.